chosen one. There are 8.4 billion people alive on this planet right now. 8,400,000,000 human beings breathing, blinking, dreaming, striving, scattered across every continent, every time zone, every language, every culture. 8 billion people who wake up in the morning and look in the mirror just like you do. 8 billion people who feel fear, feel joy, feel the sting of failure and the warmth of hope. 8 billion people who have a name, a story, a heartbeat. And yet, out of every single one of them, there is something that exists only in you, not in your twin if you have one, not in your closest friend, your parent, your child, not in the person who shares your birthday, your hometown, your blood type, your religion, your dreams, only in you. And the moment you truly understand that, the moment it stops being a motivational phrase you scroll past and starts becoming something you feel in your bones, everything changes. Let's start with the science, because this isn't poetry, this is fact. Your DNA, the biological code that instructs every cell in your body on how to exist, is unique to you. The combination of genetic material that came together to create you was a 1 in 400 trillion probability event. Scientists have done the math. The chance of you, specifically you, with your exact genetic makeup, being born was so astronomically small that if you were a lottery ticket, no rational person would have bought you. And yet here you are. You won the most improbable lottery in the history of existence, and most days you spend worrying about whether people like your Instagram post. The irony is almost too painful to hold, but it goes deeper than DNA, because twins share DNA, and even they are not the same person. What makes you irreducibly, irreversibly you is the intersection of biology and experience, the precise sequence of moments that have shaped your mind, your instincts, your reactions, your fears, your passions, your humor, your silence. Nobody on earth has lived the exact sequence of moments you have lived. Nobody has had the exact conversations, the exact heartbreaks, the exact breakthroughs, the exact mundane Tuesday afternoons that formed the particular architecture of who you are. You are not just a body. You are a story, and no story in the history of human civilization has ever been told quite like yours. Think about your laugh, not the polite one you do at meetings. Your real laugh, the one that comes out when something catches you completely off guard, when your guard is fully down and joy just escapes you. That laugh has a specific pitch, a specific rhythm, a specific timing that has never existed in any human being before you and will never exist again after you. Think about the way your mind makes connections, the specific leaps your brain takes when you're solving a problem, the analogies you naturally reach for, the images that come to you when someone describes an idea. Nobody on this planet thinks exactly the way you think. Not one person out of 8.4 billion. Now I want you to sit with that for a second, because we have been conditioned, deeply, systematically conditioned to believe the opposite. We have been taught from the time we were small enough to fit in a school desk, to compare ourselves to other people, to measure our worth against a standard that was designed for someone else. The education system grades you against a curve. Social media shows you everyone's highlight reel and asks you to measure your behind the scenes against it. The economy rewards certain skills and ignores others, teaching millions of people that what they're naturally gifted at doesn't count as real value. And so we spend our lives shrinking, squeezing ourselves into shapes that were never meant to hold us, apologizing for the edges that don't fit, and in doing so we commit the quietest and most devastating act of self-destruction possible. We abandon the one thing that no one else can offer the world. We abandon ourselves. Here's what nobody tells you about the chosen one narrative. Every mythology, every culture, every civilization across human history has produced some version of this story. The hero who is selected, the one who carries something no one else carries, the person who was born for a specific purpose. We love this story, we watch it in films, read it in books, pass it down through generations, and we assume it's fantasy, we assume it's a metaphor. But what if it isn't? What if the chosen one story persists across every human culture because it's pointing at something true, not about one exceptional individual, but about every individual? What if you were always the chosen one of your own story, and the only reason you don't feel it is because you've been watching everyone else's story instead of living yours? There is a concept in psychology called the uniqueness neglect, the tendency humans have to focus on what they share with others while systematically undervaluing what makes them different. It's a social survival mechanism, evolutionarily speaking. Belonging to the tribe meant safety, standing out meant danger. So our brains learn to minimize difference, to fit in, to be like everyone else. But here's the problem. We are no longer living in small tribal bands on the savannah. We are living in a world that has never needed unique human contributions more desperately than it does right now. Every major problem facing our civilization, climate, inequality, disease, conflict, the crisis of meaning in modern life, will be solved by people who are fully, unapologetically themselves. Not by people who are good at imitating what already exists, but by people who bring something to the table that has never been brought before. Your uniqueness is not a liability. It is the most valuable asset you possess, and the world is waiting for you to deploy it. Let me tell you about the fingerprint. You have 10 of them, and not one of them matches any of the 8.4 billion people alive today, or any of the estimated 108 billion people who have ever lived in all of human history. The ridges on your fingertips formed in the womb between weeks 6 and 13 of your development, shaped by the specific pressure of amniotic fluid, the exact position of your fingers, the particular folding of your skin. Nobody engineered your fingerprints, nobody chose them. They emerged from the wild, uncontrolled chaos of your becoming, and they are yours alone, permanently and completely. Every surface you have ever touched has received a mark that could only have come from you. You have been leaving proof of your existence everywhere you go, and you didn't even know it. That's what your life is. You are leaving a fingerprint on everything you touch, on the people you speak to, on the ideas you engage with, on the work you put your hands to, on the conversations you have at 2 in the morning when someone needed to hear exactly what only you could say. You are not passing through this world without impact. It's physically impossible. The only question is whether you are conscious of the fingerprint you're leaving, and whether it reflects who you actually are. This brings us to the question of purpose, a word that has been so overused and understood that most people either obsess over it anxiously or roll their eyes at it entirely. But let's strip away the noise and look at it plainly. Purpose, at its most basic, is the answer to this question: what does the world lose if you are not fully yourself? Not what career should you choose, not what should your passion project be. What does the world actually lose, in terms of perspective, in terms of capability, in terms of human presence, if you spend your life playing a diminished version of who you are? The answer to that question is your purpose, and it is not abstract, it is not cosmic. It is incredibly specific, because you are incredibly specific. There's a woman alive right now, somewhere in this world, who has a specific combination of empathy and analytical thinking that makes her uniquely capable of understanding a particular type of human suffering and designing systems that address it. There's a man alive right now who sees spatial relationships in a way that could solve an engineering problem no one has cracked yet. There's a teenager alive right now whose strange obsession with two seemingly unrelated things will one day connect them in a way that changes an entire field. These people are not exceptional in the way we traditionally use that word. They are not geniuses or prodigies or the blessed few. They are simply people who have something specific to offer, and the world needs them to offer it. You are one of these people. You are always one of these people. Because everyone is. The tragedy is not that we don't have enough chosen ones. The tragedy is that most chosen ones never step into what they were chosen for, because they spent their whole lives believing the choosing hadn't happened yet. They were waiting for a sign, waiting for permission, waiting to feel ready, feel worthy, feel certain enough that the thing they carry is real and valuable and wanted, and the waiting becomes the life, and the life passes, and the fingerprint is smaller than it should have been. I want to talk about comparison for a moment, because it is the single most efficient mechanism for destroying your awareness of your own uniqueness. When you compare yourself to someone else, you are performing a category error so fundamental it should almost be laughable, except it hurts too much to laugh. You are taking two completely different entities, formed by completely different processes, carrying completely different capabilities, on completely different trajectories, and you are measuring them against a single common standard. It would be like measuring a river and a thunderstorm by the same ruler and concluding that one of them is failing. They are not competing. They are not the same category of thing. They exist for different reasons. They move differently. They nourish different things. They are both in their own domain extraordinary. You are not in competition with anyone alive. I know that sounds naive in a world built on competitive structures, competitive schools, competitive job markets, competitive social hierarchies. But those structures are measuring specific, narrow things. They are not measuring the full value of a human being. They never have been. The person who ranked first in your class, who got the job you wanted, who has the life that looks from the outside like the life you imagined, they do not have what you have. They literally cannot. It was not available to them. It was only available to you. Here's something that will recalibrate everything if you let it. The things you have been most ashamed of about yourself are frequently the things that are most uniquely yours. The sensitivity you've been told is weakness. The obsession you've been told is impractical. The way your mind works that you've been told is strange. The emotions you feel that you've been told are too much. These are not flaws in your character. These are features of your specific design. A Swiss Army knife is not a defective fork. It was built for a different purpose, and the person who keeps trying to use it as a fork and failing is not revealing a problem with the knife. They're revealing a misunderstanding of what it's for. You have spent years, maybe decades, trying to be a fork when you are something else entirely. Something that has capabilities a fork will never have. And every time you failed at being a fork, you concluded that you were broken. You weren't broken, you were whole. You were just in the wrong context, in the wrong framing, measured by the wrong standard. Put in the right context, what you are becomes not just adequate, but irreplaceable. Let's talk about voice, because this is where it gets very concrete. Your voice, not just the sound of it, but the particular way you communicate, the rhythm of your thinking, the metaphors you naturally use, the things you notice that others don't, the questions you ask that no one else asks. Your voice is something the world has never heard. Not exactly. Not in this combination. There are people right now who need to hear specifically the way you explain things. Not a more polished version, not a more confident version. The actual, specific, flawed, real, idiosyncratic way you communicate. That is the version that will reach the person it's meant to reach. Because sometimes the most sophisticated, perfectly crafted message slides right past someone's defenses, and it takes something raw and specific and human and irregular to get through. Your irregular is someone's exact frequency. Think about the person who most changed your life with words. A teacher, a parent, a friend, someone you briefly met, something you read. The chances are high that what they said was not flawlessly composed. What made it land was that it came from somewhere real, somewhere specific, somewhere that could only have been them. You are that person for someone. Maybe for many someones. And they are waiting, in a way they don't even know they're waiting, for the particular thing only you can give. This is where responsibility enters the picture. Because once you accept that you carry something unique, once you genuinely internalize that your existence is not redundant, not just a slightly different copy of something that already exists in abundance, you can no longer afford to stay small out of comfort or fear. There is a cost to your smallness. It is not just paid by you. It is paid by everyone who needed what you were carrying and never received it because you decided it wasn't valuable enough to offer. It is paid by the conversations that never happened, the ideas that never formed, the connections that never sparked, the comfort that was never given, the problem that was never solved because the person who could have solved it was too busy trying to solve themselves into someone else. This is not guilt. I am not trying to add weight to what you're carrying. I am trying to help you understand that what you're carrying was never supposed to feel like a burden. It was supposed to feel like a direction. The weight you feel is not the weight of your uniqueness. It's the weight of suppressing it. The moment you stop fighting against what you specifically are and start moving with it, the heaviness changes. It doesn't disappear. Life is still life. But it reorganizes itself from resistance into momentum. People who have found this, who have stepped fully into what is specifically theirs, describe it in remarkably similar terms regardless of their field or culture or background. They say things like, "It feels like I stopped pretending. It feels like I stopped translating myself. It feels like I finally stopped arriving late to my own life." That's not metaphor, that's the literal experience of alignment. When who you are on the inside and what you're doing on the outside are no longer in conflict. When you are not performing yourself, but simply being yourself. It is one of the most profound human experiences available, and it is available to you because you are the only one who can access what you specifically carry. Now practically, because inspiration without application is just a good feeling that fades by tomorrow. How do you actually find what is specifically yours? How do you locate the thing that belongs to you and not to the general category of human being? You start by paying attention to what you cannot help but notice. In any room, in any conversation, in any piece of work, what do you see that other people seem to miss? What bothers you that doesn't seem to bother others? What excites you that other people find boring? What comes easily to you that other people find difficult? And inversely, what do other people seem to find simple that has always been a genuine struggle for you? These are not random, these are the contours of your specific design, the shape of what you are built for. You also pay attention to time. There are certain activities, certain states of engagements where time moves differently for you, not where you're in flow in the glossy productivity hack sense, but where you are genuinely absorbed, genuinely present, genuinely yourself, where the performing stops and the being starts. Those moments are data. They are pointing at something, not necessarily at a career, maybe at a quality of engagement, a type of thinking, a mode of relating to the world that is native to you. Follow those moments more than you follow advice. Follow them more than you follow applause. The applause is other people's signal. The absorption is yours. And then, critically, you must be willing to be a beginner at being yourself. Because most of us have spent so long being someone else that our own authenticity is a skill we are out of practice with. The first time you speak in your actual voice, it will feel wrong, exposed, too much, not enough, embarrassing. This is not evidence that the voice is wrong. This is evidence that the muscle is weak from disuse. You build it the way you build any muscle, by using it, tolerating the discomfort, using it again. Every time you are fully yourself, even imperfectly, even awkwardly, you are building the capacity to be yourself more fully the next time. There are people who will not like what specifically you are. This is guaranteed, and it is fine. In fact, it is a good sign. If everyone likes you, you have probably smoothed away the edges that make you specific. The edges are the point. The roughness is where the traction is. The people who connect with what specifically you are will connect with a depth that the smoothed, universal, palatable version of you could never achieve. You don't need 8.4 billion people to recognize what you carry. You need the right ones. And the right ones can only find you if you are actually there. 8,400,000,000 people, every one of them with a heartbeat and a name and a story, and not one of them, not a single one, with exactly what you have. Not your specific angle of vision, not your specific quality of attention, not your specific fingerprint of experience and biology and choice and accident. The universe spent 13.8 billion years, from the first moment of existence through the formation of stars, the cooling of planets, the emergence of life, the long walk of evolution, the meeting of two specific people at a specific moment, to produce exactly you, and then handed you this one life, this one window of time, this one irrepeatable shot at being present in the world. What you do with that is, of course, entirely up to you, but I would suggest that the least interesting thing you could do with a 1 in 400 trillion miracle is spend it wishing you were someone else. The least worthy use of your fingerprint is to spend your life trying to match someone else's. The quietest form of tragedy available to a human being is to arrive at the end of the road and realize that the thing you were looking for, the belonging, the meaning, the sense of having mattered, was inside you the whole time, waiting to be expressed, waiting to be given, waiting to leave its mark on a world that was genuinely, specifically, irreplaceably waiting for it. You are the chosen one, not in the sense of being superior, not in the sense of being destined for fame or wealth or the kind of recognition that trends online. In the more profound sense, the sense that actually matters. You were chosen by probability, by biology, by the impossible convergence of everything that had to happen for you to exist. You were chosen to carry a specific set of qualities and capabilities and perspectives that have never existed before and will never exist again. You were chosen to leave a fingerprint that only you can leave. And the only question is whether you are going to choose yourself back. 8.4 billion people, only one of them is you. That one is enough. That one is in fact everything.